Domestic violence, otherwise known as domestic abuse or intimate partner violence, can be defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain, maintain power, and control over an intimate partner. Domestic abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological actions or threats of actions that influence another person. Any behaviors that may frighten, intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, humiliate, blame, injure, or wound someone are examples as well. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. It can also occur within a range of relationships, including couples who are married, living together, or dating. Domestic violence affects people of all socioeconomic backgrounds and education levels. In other words, domestic violence does not discriminate. It doesn't matter if you live in a rough area of town or in an apartment, nor does it matter if you reside in an upscale home located in the best school district in town. It doesn't care if you are the most beautiful person in the world, the most successful, healthiest, and wealthiest. You have to understand, the domestic abuser exercises their power and control. Just about anyone can intimidate, use threats, isolate, blame, and threaten. You don't need a college degree and drive a fancy car to commit any act of domestic violence. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men who are victims of domestic abuse. In Pennsylvania alone, 37% of women and 30% of men experience violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and an intimate partner stalking them at some point in their lifetime. Domestic violence can happen at any stage of life, and usually after divorce, women look inward. More often than not, us women look deep within ourselves and assess the role we took in the ending of our marriage. By doing so, we are getting our, shall we say, emotional ducks in a row and letting go of the past. Us women do this so we can focus on the future. Once we have decided to move forward with our lives, we seek out new life adventures and experiences that enrich our lives and give them a sense of hope for the future. Lisa Menzo Santoro was just that person, a newly divorced woman looking for a second chance at love. Close friends and relatives describe her as a beautiful woman whose smile would light up the room every time she entered. She was always so positive, always smiling, upbeat, and easygoing. So this is why the story you are about to hear is tragic. It's about a loving mother of 4 who is excited about the prospect of love the second time around, but sadly never got the chance to live out the next chapter of her life fully. She would never get to see any of her 4 children graduate from high school or witness any other life achievements made by them. Any future memories that Lisa would have made with friends and family was cut short by a system who acted too late. A system who did not recognize the severity of a situation that had escalated into deadly violence. The story you are about to hear isn't your classic whodunit. It's about how, and how could a cry for help get lost in the system and get overlooked. By sharing Lisa's story, the hope is that anyone else out there can have their cries for help recognized, so they and their families do not have to endure what Lisa's family had to. You are listening to Departed in Pennsyltucky, Episode 4, Behind Her Smile, the case of Lisa Menzo Santoro. Date, March 3rd, 2017. Location, Palmer Township, Pennsylvania. March itself is the 3rd month of the year, and what's special about March is that it's the beginning of a rebirth, the time when nature heeds its call to awaken and start to bloom. If you're a sunny, warm weather type of gal like myself, You, too, obsessively look at the barren branches of the trees, hoping to see signs of new life, of new buds on the branches beginning to form. You might also look into your flower beds for signs of daffodils getting ready to take flight, or pursue your local store for displays of outdoor furniture and other garden supplies. It's also a time when the upcoming holiday season of Easter is starting to show through, with many stores proudly displaying Easter decorations and all that delicious, tastes so good, but bad for you candy. The Easter holiday was something that Lisa looked forward to, and she and her children commemorated the upcoming holiday by placing a large Easter bunny decoration on the front lawn of her majestic home. Indeed, there was a lot to look forward to. On March 3rd, 2017, the day probably started off normal for most of us, especially for Lisa Menzo Santoro. It was a Friday, and like most of us, we looked forward to the weekend. The weather was overcast and still cold. The forecast called for slight flurries later on, but not enough to dampen anyone's spirits. For Lisa, a mother of 4, she too was probably looking forward to the weekend as well. Most likely the weekend would be spent with her 2 sons, Joseph and Jake, and her 2 daughters, Gianna and Jessica, and mother Pat. Like most close-knit families, Lisa's weekend was most likely filled with attending her children's sporting events, making meals, shopping, and overall, just another time to make more memories with the ones she loved. That morning, after she had dropped her children off from school, Lisa most likely was making a mental list of what she needed to do throughout the day before her children arrived home from school. Should she make dinner, or should they order in, or even go out to eat? As she pulled in her driveway, opened her garage door, and pulled inside, Lisa's thoughts about the upcoming evening, weekend, and even holiday were abruptly cut short. Tragically, she was ambushed, assassination style, and shot multiple times. Sadly, Lisa never had a chance. Lisa's body lay in her vehicle for hours until around 3 p.m., Lisa's body was discovered by her 17-year-old daughter, Gianna. Surely, it was a horrific sight seeing your mother, the one person you love so much, the one person who put you and your siblings first, and to see her sitting lifeless in her car. How unfair it must be to see your loved ones like this. A 911 call was placed, and at 3:34 p.m., Palmer Township Police were called to Lisa's home, which was in an upscale residence located at 19 Saddle Lane in Palmer Township, Pennsylvania. 19 Saddle Lane is located in Parkview Estates, a residential suburb in Palmer Township, Pennsylvania. Located approximately 76 miles north of Philadelphia and 74 miles east of New York City, Palmer Township has a population of around 20,000 people and is home to Easton Area High School. For the past 55 years, Palmer Township prides itself in being a planned community, and as a result, the mixture of home types, industrial centers, and shopping facilities is an ideal setting for families. Residents admire the quiet, family-friendly neighborhoods, proximity to stores and malls, good school districts, parks, and walking paths. Lisa's home, where she and her children resided, is a sprawling 3,700 square foot home, boasting 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, attached 3-car garage, and a large, beautifully manicured lot. The home was purchased in October of 2004 by Lisa and her then husband Joseph. In 2016, Lisa and Joseph had split up, and Lisa had purchased the home from him. When police arrived, they found 47-year-old Lisa Menzo Santoro dead in her car parked in her garage. Authorities determined that Lisa died of multiple gunshot wounds in what police described as an ambush-style assassination where the perpetrator had laid in wait with a shotgun. Saddle Lane wasn't in a neighborhood that was known for high crime, or any at all for that matter, and right off the bat, robbery did not appear to be a motive. Officers felt whoever was responsible for the killing gained access to the home and laid and waited until Lisa came back home. Finding Lisa murdered in her own vehicle in the safety of her own garage and home was such a devastating loss to her children and especially her mother, Pat Menzo. In a world where most children look up to their parents as their idols and inspiration, Pat Menzo looked up to her daughter Lisa. Describing her as her own personal idol and best friend, Pat often talked about Lisa's role as an amazing mother to her 4 children, Joseph, Jake, Jessica, and Gianna. Lisa attended every event her children were involved with, whether it was a baseball game, wrestling match, or cheering competition. Lisa made it a point to be there no matter how full her schedule was. Despite being a full-time bookkeeper and single mother to 4 children, Lisa managed to maintain the 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom home with the greatest of ease. Pat states Lisa's home was always neat and clean. Jessica was Lisa's eldest daughter, and she too described her relationship with her mother, Lisa, as her best friend. Being that Jessica was the oldest, she and Lisa did everything together. From trips to the mall to attending her brother's wrestling tournaments, the two were inseparable. Often, Jessica would help Lisa get her work done so the whole family could go out on a summer day. With Lisa being loved so much by her family, friends, and co-workers, it was understandable for one not to be able to wrap their head around as to who was responsible for such a horrific act. But after talking with family members, police soon had their number one suspect, 45-year-old Leonard Moser. Leonard Moser was the live-in boyfriend of Lisa, and they had dated for approximately 2 years. For the past year prior to her murder, Leonard had moved in with Lisa and her children at the Saddle Lane home that Lisa owned. Born in neighboring Phillipsburg, New Jersey, Leonard was a top athlete in high school, playing defense on his high school football team. He liked to keep up with his former youth and maintain his physique by being devoted to bodybuilding. After high school, he worked as a guard at the county juvenile jail. In 1998, when Leonard was 27, he was charged with sexual contact with an 18-year-old female inmate and was sentenced to at least 60 days in the county jail. During his sentencing, Leonard spoke about his difficult, underprivileged childhood. He expressed his disappointment in abandoning his hope of being a police officer and apologized to his family, his fiancée at the time, and his fiancée's family for what he had done. Leonard claimed other guards at the juvenile facility committed wrongdoings that went unpunished, and he stated he was unfairly singled out. Despite them living together, Lisa had described the relationship as volatile. For the past 3 months up until the murder, Lisa had described daily physical abuse from Leonard. Friday, February 10th, 2017. On February 10th, 2017, both Leonard and Lisa were driving to the airport in New Jersey to catch a flight to Florida. They were going to watch Lisa's teen daughter's cheering competition. While Lisa was driving the car, an argument started. Lisa did not want Leonard to accompany her to Florida for the cheering competition, and the couple began to argue about it. Lisa just wanted Leonard to go home, but he refused. Lisa stated that Leonard arose from the passenger seat, then tried to grab the wheel from Lisa and steer the car into oncoming traffic. At one point during this event, Leonard ran another motorist off the road on Route 22. Eventually, Leonard was able to grab Lisa's wrist and twist it. And even though Lisa felt something was wrong with her wrist, she was still afraid to go to the hospital and get it checked out because Leonard was with her. By the time the couple got to the airport, Lisa's flight had been canceled, and thinking that she would miss her daughter's cheering competition, Lisa became upset. It was then Leonard decided to drive her to Florida. They alternated driving and made the drive in 11 hours. Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2017. On February 14th, 2017, Palmer Township Police were called to the Saddle Lane home regarding a verbal disagreement that had escalated. Lisa claimed Leonard threw her against the wall, in which he had pinned her by the neck with his one hand, then took her arm with his other hand and was banging it on the wall. Even though Lisa had reported this incident to the attending police officers, no arrests were made. The attending officers told Lisa it was Leonard's residence as well, and he didn't have to leave. Wednesday, February 15th, 2017. 5 days after Lisa's wrist was injured driving to the airport, Lisa went to the doctor and learned her wrist was broken. Because she feared Leonard, she told the attending doctors that she hurt her wrist in a fall. Leonard began texting Lisa and became irate because he wasn't able to reach her. When Lisa finally told Leonard where she was, he showed up at the doctor's office. After he arrived, Leonard began asking Lisa what she told the office staff. As the cast was being put on, the nurses told her that her boyfriend was in the waiting room. When Leonard entered the room where Lisa was, he said to everyone in the room, "You told them how you fell, right?" Afterwards, Leonard followed her home and refused to leave, stating Lisa needed him. In the days following Lisa seeking medical treatment for her wrist, the fighting between the couple continued. It had escalated to the point where Leonard was threatening Lisa with posting sexually explicit photos and videos of Lisa. Leonard told Lisa he would post the photos and videos up on social media and send them to her 4 children and mother. To prove his point, he would send Lisa a random sexually explicit photo of her. There were no words in the text message, just the photo. Lisa said it was his way of reminding her what he was capable of and what could happen if she left him. Saturday, February 25th, 2017. Lisa and Leonard's volatile relationship reared its ugly head on Saturday, February 25th, 2017. Palmer Township Police were called to the Saddle Lane home not once, but twice. At 1:16 p.m., the first call to police was made by Leonard, and Leonard told the attending officers that he was afraid of Lisa. Leonard stated the argument started that day regarding access to each other's cell phones. Leonard claimed Lisa was trying to throw out his stuff while yelling at him to get out of the home. Leonard told police that he did not want Lisa arrested, only for the officers to document that she hit him. The second call to police was made at 3:30 p.m. and came from Lisa herself. Lisa stated the verbal abuse was getting worse. Leonard was in a rage, calling her a bad mother, pushing and shoving her, and then took her car keys. He also took her phone and threw her car keys and wallet onto the deck outside of their home. When Lisa went to retrieve them, he pushed her into a bedroom window and broke the shades. Afterwards, when Lisa attempted to leave, Leonard blocked her car and said he would call the police and say she stole the car. Lisa had told police she was scared because she had no means to leave and she was being held hostage. Leonard's accounts as to what happened had him claiming that Lisa pushed him into a window and hit him several times in the back. After the second call to police and back and forth conversations between Leonard, Lisa, and the police, Leonard finally agreed to leave Lisa's home that he shared with her for the last year of their 2-year relationship. Later on that day, Lisa successfully gained an emergency protection from abuse order from Leonard before the district judge on call. Monday, February 27th, 2017. On Monday, February 27th, 2017, Lisa was successful in getting a protection from abuse order against Leonard. This PFA was to replace the emergency one she obtained over the weekend on February 25th, 2017. In the permanent PFA against Leonard, Lisa documented to the judge the weeks that had led up to present day. In a hearing, Lisa told the judge she tried to get Leonard to leave the Saddle Lane home several times, and that it wasn't being forced by police because they told her Leonard was a resident of the house and they could not force him to leave. Lisa also noted to the judge that on or around February 17, 2017, Lisa found a needle and a steroid bottle in her home. On February 26, 2017, the night before the permanent PFA was in place, Lisa and her mother, Pat, began to pack up Leonard's clothes. While doing so, they found 2 needles folded in his shirts. Lisa told the judge that for the past 3 months, almost every day, there was pushing, shoving, and being pinned against the walls and even thrown to the ground and choked. When Lisa was asked if Leonard had a firearm or had access to one, Lisa told the judge Leonard never used a firearm, nor did she believe he owned a firearm. According to her, Leonard had never threatened to use a firearm against her or her 4 children. Lastly, in all caps in her statement, she wrote, "I am very afraid of him. I am looking over my shoulder. I am afraid he will come back. He has controlled every aspect of my life. He has tried to cut me off from my friends." On the same day of February 25th, 2017, in his filing for a PFA against Lisa, Leonard claimed the fight on February 25th, 2017, stemmed from Lisa accusing him of cheating on her. Lisa had been calling him names when he changed his cell phone code and he wouldn't allow her to see his phone. Leonard claimed it was Lisa that threw his wallet, phone, and keys onto the deck outside. Leonard claimed that Lisa pushed him on the deck, and it was her who pushed him into the window in a bedroom. He claimed she continued to hit him several times in the back. Leonard claimed Lisa was trying to throw out his stuff while yelling at him to get out of the home. She called the police the second time that day as he took a shower. The night prior to the last incident, he alleged, "She threatened to stab me in my sleep because she hated me so much." And he also claimed to have found a knife between the mattress and box spring. Leonard told the judge he was getting physically harmed by Lisa, and eventually Lisa evicted him from the house. Regarding the February 10th, 2017 incident, Leonard stated they had fought in the car while headed to an airport in Trenton, only to learn that the flight had been canceled. He said they argued about him not wanting to go on the Florida trip, dating, and websites. Leonard stated that Lisa was hitting him after he grabbed the steering wheel. When the flight was canceled, Leonard said he felt bad that she was going to miss the cheerleading competition, so he ended up driving Lisa to Florida. After hearing testimony from Leonard, the judge ultimately denied Leonard's request for a protection from abuse order and was told to stay away from Lisa. The judge also ordered him to attend a March 10th, 2017 hearing, which ironically was the same time Lisa was attending her hearing. The judge also ordered him to attend a March 10th, 2017 hearing, ironically was the same time that Lisa was attending her hearing. For Lisa and her family, the protection from abuse order was a sigh of relief. Finally, Lisa was able not only to evict Leonard from her home, she was able to get rid of him for good. The next few days leading up to her murder must have been relaxing for Lisa and her family. No more looking over her shoulder and enduring daily abuse. She could spend more time focusing on her family and not having to defend herself against a man who was twice her size in stature and weight. She could come and go as she pleased, do what she wanted, dressed how she felt, and in other words, Lisa was finally free. It's unknown exactly where Leonard went to live or what he did after he left Lisa's home, but what is known is that he plotted for a few days until he mustered up the cowardly courage to gain access to Lisa's garage and take her life away in a swift and evil act of cruelty. How and Leonard acquired a shotgun is still a mystery. As a condition of the permanent PFA, it was illegal for him to possess and use a firearm. Just a few hours after he murdered Lisa, Leonard was spotted in his car. Around 6 p.m. the same day, police stopped Leonard's vehicle on Dumont Road in Greenwich Township, New Jersey. From a distance, police ordered Leonard out of the car. After several attempts to get Leonard out of the car, there was no response, nor was there any attempt by Leonard to exit his vehicle. Police were concerned about whether Leonard had any type of weapons on him, so the local police took a step back and a tactical team came and approached the vehicle. When they did, they determined he was deceased. Authorities determined the same shotgun Leonard used to take his own life was the same weapon he used to kill Lisa. In the days following Lisa's murder, local news outlets that had reported on the murder had also made the local community aware of the protection from abuse order and that Lisa's claims against Leonard were not taken seriously from some of the officers who were present during the domestic violence calls. Reliving this nightmare only infuriated Lisa's family, friends, and co-workers. Palmer Township Police Chief Larry Palmer defended his police department, stating the situation presented to the attending officers regarding Lisa and Leonard was conflicting. Unfortunately, after the tragic event, the picture as to exactly what was happening at the Saddle Lane home became much more clearer. Chief Palmer also stated that it was Leonard who placed the 3 of the 4 calls that officers had responded to. He added at the time, officers respond to a situation and that police don't always look to the future as far as what if could happen when the event is actually happening. He stated that it's tough because the domestic situations are dealing with a lot of high emotions. Officer Michael Calabrese was one of the officers that responded to the calls on February 25, 2017. In his report regarding the incident, Officer Calabrese stated that Lisa began yelling at the officers who attended the call because they had not done anything to help her. Officer Calabrese responded to Lisa and said, "When you start to share a home with another person and gifts such as cars from other people that aren't registered to you and allow a significant other to move in with your family, you are gambling and taking risks." At the time of the incident, he allegedly told her that these are now matters that are out of police control, and the police can't stand here and fix all of your relationship problems in an instant, make you, and then make him happy. At the time of Lisa's murder, Officer Calabrese was a 25-year veteran of the department. He said at the time he was shaken by Lisa's death and never meant his comments regarding her situation to come off as hurtful. He said he understands the anger of Lisa's family, friends, and co-workers, and apologizes if his words were offensive. He is quoted as saying, "If somebody is going to tell me I'm insensitive, they don't know me, and all they are basing it on is the last report, which had an unfortunate tone." Officer Calabrese ended by saying police did everything they could do to help Lisa. Pat Menzo, Lisa's mother, disagrees, saying she felt as if the police enabled a killer to murder Lisa. She feels as if the police were ill-trained, lacked common sense, and continually ignored the warning signs and refused to remove Leonard from Lisa's home. The issue of how Leonard was able to obtain a firearm bothers Pat as well. She is an advocate for background checks and is a believer that national common sense gun laws must be adopted. In addition, a national database tracking gun sales and ammunition, and most of all, she feels gun laws should not be different from state to state. National statistics on domestic violence show that Black women encounter a higher number of domestic violence incidents. That number is followed by Hispanics and then whites. Other factors that are related to the issue of domestic violence are education, unemployment, family status, and income. But again, domestic violence does not discriminate. We are all vulnerable. Perhaps in Lisa's case, it wasn't domestic violence that discriminated against her, but possibly the police who originally responded to the incident. Lisa was an attractive 47-year-old white female who resided in an upper-middle-class neighborhood with her equally attractive live-in boyfriend. Is it possible that Lisa didn't garner much sympathy because of her looks and where she resided? And again, is accepting a gift from your spouse or partner the reason you will have to endure mental and physical abuse? As a result, are we supposed to pay the price correctly? Leonard Moser was a man on a mission. In the past, his threats were good enough to keep Lisa in his life. Leonard abused his power by making Lisa feel weak, helpless, and dependent on him. Up until he was asked to move out and a PFA was against him, he sat and plotted her demise. Knowing her schedule, he gained access to her garage while she was out, then waited until she returned. Allowing her to let down her guard, he waited a few days to carry out his cold assassination of her life. He would rather take a loving mother away from her children and her family because he simply could not get his way. Perhaps if Palmer Township Police had been better trained in handling this type of domestic violence call, it's possible Leonard would have left the Saddle Lane home earlier than February 25th, 2017. If so, would it have changed the outcome? One can only guess. If you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence, please speak out and get help at the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Help is available at 1-800-799-7233. The hotline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Operators are fluent in English, Spanish, and 200 plus languages through interpretation services. Please note, internet usage can be monitored and it is impossible to erase completely. If you're concerned about your internet usage might be monitored, call 1-800-799-7233. Learn more about digital security and remember to clear your browser history after visiting a website regarding domestic violence. Most websites relating to domestic violence have a safety feature, which is a red escape button located on top or bottom of your screen. Use this button to quickly click out of a website if someone you don't want to know your research comes into the room or nearby. This concludes this week's episode of Departed in Pennsyltucky. I'm your host, Andrea Dudek. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for more true crime talk without the Valley Girl squawk. Have a great weekend, everyone.